All right, time to get started. Let's see. Hold on. You guys ready to rock? Time to talk about careers in finance, but I also have some cool stuff to talk about today. So I'm looking forward to it that I'm going to share with you. I've been working on. Let's just give it a moment to see if anybody's out there, and let's just see. All right. There is, I see Honey Lee. All right. I'm just coming on. Just put out a little note. Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about careers in finance, but I'm also going to be presenting some material about share buybacks because I know a lot of people have asked about that. And so I will give some feedback on that. And also anybody can ask any questions about careers in finance. I know one of our followers, Ryan, may come on, and he and I have been talking about writing some more stuff on that. So let's get started, and I'm going to open up my PowerPoint, and I'm going to go through this. So hopefully people are getting online, and welcome to another Careers in Finance. Today's going to be kind of exciting because I'm going to go through some work that I've been doing, which I'll show you in just a second. So hold on one second. Let's see. All right. So now I'm going to share my screen. Get this party going. All right. So let's get started with careers in finance. Today, I want you to ask any question in the chat. You can do that right now. Any questions are welcome, not only about careers in finance, about yours, about mine, or about anything else. You know, I have a passion for finance. I love it. It's such a great topic. And so I'm happy to be able to share it with you. I'm here in my office in Bangkok, Thailand. And I'm going to start off with a lesson about share buybacks and try to teach a little bit of that. And then you can ask questions in the chat. I'll tell you a bit about my story, some Q&A. And then after that, if you want to become a valuation expert and do valuations like I do and love to do, I'll have more information and some special deal at the end of this. So hang on for that. In fact, here it is. Today's section comes from my new course, which is called Finance Made Ridiculously Simple. This course is actually a 7-hour course. It's pretty intense. And it's going to be incorporated into the Valuation Masterclass Module 1. So if you're on this call, you sign up for the Valuation Masterclass, you're going to get this course for free. Wow. All right, let's talk about share buybacks here for a moment. I want you to imagine that 4 friends, friend A, B, C, and D, started a business, and each of them invested $25,000 in that business. And assume that the company issued each shareholder 25,000 shares at a par value of $10 for a total paid up capital of $1 million. That's what they've put into this company. So each shareholder owned 25% of the company. So as a result of this transaction, the paid up capital portion of the equity section of the balance sheet became $1 million. Now we also can assume that the shareholders got a $300 loan from the bank. So how would those entries look? Here's how they would look in year 1. We got a loan from the bank, that's $300. The outstanding shares for each shareholder is 25,000. So a total of 100,000 shares outstanding are out there right now. And that means they've raised $1 million. The par value is 10. So there it is. So that's our starting point. And let's continue on with the story. In the first year, the company made a profit of $10,000, and they all agreed to reinvest that money in the business. You're probably thinking to yourself, I want to start a business. that generates $10,000 in the first year. Now, this $10,000 caused the retained earnings in the equity section of the balance sheet to rise to be $10,000. So there you can see during the year, they made a profit of $10,000, and that was retained in the business. So the retained earnings now has gone to $10,000. So let's continue on. Year 2 produced a fantastic profit of $100,000. And they all agreed that the company should pay out $10,000 of that profit as dividends. So what does that mean? This means a 10% dividend payout ratio. Not a lot, because they want to keep money in the company. Now, since each shareholder owned 25% of the shares, each received a $25,000 or $2,500 dividend check. The remaining $90,000 was retained in the business, which increased the retained earnings portion of the equity section of the balance sheet to 100 from that 10,000. So here you can see the entry. The profit during that year was 100,000 and 10,000 was paid out. Therefore, retained earnings went up by 90,000. So now retained earnings are 100,000. Now we also can see that there's cash in the balance sheet of 100,000 also. So let's see what's next. The third year produced a super successful profit of $400,000. Also, by this time, they had accumulated $100,000 of cash. So in the third year, the shareholder A told the other shareholders that she needed $50,000 for tuition payment for her daughter's entry into an expensive university. And to get this money, she said, well, why doesn't the company pay out 50% of profits as dividends? That would be $200,000. That's 50% of $400,000. And this would mean that each shareholder would receive $50,000, which is 25% of 200. And she said, therefore, I can get my money out to put my daughter in university. Now, the problem was that the other shareholders didn't need the $50,000 of dividend because they were living comfortably on the salary that they're getting from the company. More importantly, they all saw a great future for the company and they wanted to reinvest the maximum amount of profits in the business. Now, around that time, the shareholders hired a financial expert like me who valued their company at $100, much higher than the $10 they paid for their shares in the beginning. So the financial expert recommended that they consider a share buyback to solve their dilemma. Now, because A needed $50,000, and since each of the company's shares were valued at $100, the financial advisor suggested that the company take $50,000 of its $100,000 in cash to buy back 500 shares from A at $100. All shareholders liked this idea and they agreed to do it. So A sold 500 of her shares, and with this transaction, her shareholding fell to 24,500 shares. The company took that 500 shares it bought and they brought it out of circulation, and they calling them treasury shares. Since the other shareholders kept their 25,000 shares, then the new total number of shares issued fell to 99,500. The account called treasury shares in the equity section of the balance sheet showed a negative 50,000. Now, A shareholding fell to 24.62. That's 24,500 shares divided by the new total of 99,500. And also, the shareholding of the others rose to each be 25.13 because they all kept their original 25,000 and the number of shares outstanding actually fell. So here we can see what happened. The company didn't pay any dividend from the profits that it earned, but it did reduce its level of cash. That cash reduced by 50,000. And we can also see that the number of shares reduced from 25,000 to 24,500 because shareholder A sold back her shares to the company. And finally, the treasury shares in the equity section of the balance sheet fell by 50. And from this, we can see that the company's treasury shares has fallen over that time. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, I think that share buybacks are quite critical right now. And here I'm going to show you something that I've done in the course, Finance Made Ridiculously Simple. And one of the companies that we look at is 3M. And one of the challenges about 3M is, I'm going to grab my pen here if I can find it. One second. There's my pen. One of the challenges about 3M is this minus 75.8. So basically, this is a common size balance sheet. This is the liability portion of the balance sheet. And we can see that 3M finances its assets 26.5% from equity, and that the company has this massive negative number. So also what we can see is that 3M has said that it's increased its dividend now for 62 consecutive years, and that the company has paid dividends to its shareholders without interruption for 100 years. I wonder how they're going to do this year. So that's pretty impressive. And also, it's a combination of dividends and share repurchases that they're doing, which we just went through. So let's review the impact of buybacks. First thing is it reduces cash. And the second thing is it reduces equity. In other words, it causes treasury shares to go negative. And it may increase debt. Now, in the story I just told you of the 4 investors, A, B, C, and D, they didn't borrow any money to pay out or to, rather than they used cash from the balance sheet rather than borrowing money to do that. Now here we can see, if we look at 3M, we can see that that treasury shares line is growing from 24,885 all the way up to 32,090. And the result of that is that the company's debt to equity has gone from 0.9 up to 2 at the bottom, and net debt to equity has gone from 0.8 to 1.7. So basically, there's been a significant increase in leverage due to the buybacks. Also, because of COVID, they said that they've suspended any share repurchase program. Now, you can imagine that they still want to pay their dividend because they've paid it for 100 years. So what have you learned from this section? First, share buybacks allow companies to return capital to only those who want to sell their shares. But if it's abused, it can leave a company highly leveraged. If you have any questions about share buybacks or about careers in finance, let me know. I'm going to continue on with this presentation and just tell you a bit about my story. I started as an analyst when I was 28 years old in Bangkok, Thailand. And basically, from the day I took my job as an analyst, I said to myself, I love this job. And from that day until today, I've just loved the world of finance so much, and it's given me so much. So I do want to share with other people how to build a great career in finance. All right, let's go to some questions and answers. And I think at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen for just a moment. And I'm going to come back and look at it. All right, so I see promotes there. Nice to see you. And there's Kondanai. Nice to see you. I'm going to put my screen back up. There you are. All right, so let's talk. That's a little fun about share buybacks. Do you have any questions about that, share buybacks? And also, do you have any questions about careers in finance? Now, before you can type those questions in right now. And while I'm waiting for your questions, I'll just highlight a couple of questions that I did get. One of them is a question I often get about, should I study MBA or should I study CFA? And I would just highlight that CFA is to really build the body of knowledge, a wide body of knowledge in the world of finance. MBA is about learning how to manage companies. So you have to decide what it is you want to do. And the Valuation Masterclass is about how do you go deep into valuation and learn everything you possibly can about it. So I would say, if you want to build a career in finance, definitely take CFA. If you want to build a career in management, I would take the MBA. All right, questions. There we are. There's Abdul Alim. After finishing the CFA webinar, I will. Okay, yeah, good. All right. So another question that I got is, there's always questions also about AI, and will AI replace the role of an analyst? And I had a professor over for lunch at my house the other day, and she asked me this question, and we talked about it. But my answer to the question is that it's very hard for AI. Finance is a very complex subject, and every time that a pattern or something is repeated, it's very hard. What happens is that the market is self-correcting to some extent, and so I would say that it's hard. The other thing I would say about AI is that there is judgment involved. In fact, if you're writing a research piece about a company, about an assessment of a management team, there's judgment, right? So, all right. Yeah, Promote. I want to know a little bit more about treasury share. How does the treasury stock perform in the company? So when a company buys back shares, what's happening is the cash reduces by the amount that they're paying out. If cash reduces, that is a reduction in the asset side of the balance sheet. So there must be a corresponding reduction in the liability side of the balance sheet. And that reduction is the treasury share amount, the same amount in treasury shares. And treasury shares are what's called a contra account. So they basically will reduce the other accounts, which is paid up capital and retained earnings. So once companies use that cash to buy back shares, the shares now either can be retired completely or they can sit there as treasury shares. But when we calculate EPS and things like that, they're no longer included. Promote, did that answer your question? If you guys got other questions, feel free to ask. All right. So going back to AI, I think, the main thing is that human judgment is a very powerful thing. The amount of calculations and thinking that we do and the amount of flexibility in that thinking is massive. And so it's not easy for artificial intelligence to get to that. That would be my opinion. All right. Other questions? Somebody else asked me, what does it take to be a number one analyst? And my answer to that is, you need to be in touch with the client. The client is the key. You've got to write your research with the idea of having the client's interest in mind. And that's key. All right, Ramon, let's see. Is it easy for mid-career move into equity research from an engineering investment advisory background? So the answer to that question is yes and no. I've seen a lot of people move from engineering, particularly. I've seen a lot of people move from engineering into finance. And I think that engineers have a good structural way of thinking. But really, it has to come down to how committed you are to the world of finance. Are you doing your CFA exam? Are you studying, for instance, Valuation Masterclass, or taking other online classes? Do you have a portfolio of stocks, or you have a model portfolio that you're following? Those are the types of things that will tell you if you're really going to build a career in finance. But I would say the key thing is, if you're passionate about finance, then figure out how you're going to transition out of engineering and into finance. And I would say you build the skills that I've talked about, CFA, Valuation Masterclass, or other online classes. And from the building of those skills, then you can go and apply for a job. All right. So Adiwumi from Nigeria, I believe. Let's see. How do you develop a stock pitch? A stock pitch. That's a good one. A stock pitch. Also, by the way, let's just see. I just want to, for anybody in here that wants to improve their valuation skills, the Valuation Masterclass Module 1, we've got a special discount at the end of this. Plus, we have a free access to our brand new course, which we haven't even launched yet, called Finance Made, ridiculously simple. So I'll show more about it. I think Alex will also put something out in the comments, which you can see. then send this out. Okay, 1 second. I'll send out the detail of that right now. So just give me a second. This is for those people on the call who are interested in studying the Valuation Masterclass, so you can see the deal that we've got there. Let me just put that in. All right, so save $80 on Module 1 and get 2 of my books for free, but also you're going to get free access to the new course. So let's talk about a stock pitch. You know, I think that the key thing, and I have Adi Wumi, this is a good question. I have another course that's an online course called How to Give a Great Presentation. And basically that course talks about building a structure. And I'll teach you the structure that I teach in that course. It's called PESO, P-E-S-O. And that means you've got to come up with what's your point. Point number 1 is this stock is cheap. Then the second thing you need to do is come up with your evidence for that. What is the evidence? Most people just go, oh yeah, this is good. Why? Well, I can tell you that this stock is cheap because it's trading on a PE of 10 and the multiple for the industry is 20. All right. So that's the E in peso, and that's the evidence. The S is story. And story means you've got to come up with a way to appeal to people's emotion. Otherwise, it's not a good pitch. And so basically you can say, look, I've been searching for this cheap of a PE now for 3 years, and I have found it. And that's some sort of small story about the pitch and what you're pitching. And then the fourth one is O for peso, meaning objection. You need to know what the objections are. What do you expect for the objections, and what is your comeback? People may say, oh, that stock's always been cheap. You need to know how you're going to respond to that by saying, yes, but it's starting to move, and the company has changed, blah, blah, blah. There's a new CEO or whatever. So those are some tips for how to do a stock pitch. Other questions? All right. If you've got questions, just drop them in there. Meanwhile, I'm going to share with you the last part of this where I just want you to see what opportunity that we have for you. So feel free to ask any questions, put any questions you have about careers in finance. And meanwhile, I'm going to just walk through the last part of this. So just hold on. Basically, the Valuation Masterclass is the class that I've developed that you can get practical experience in equity valuation. You can gain confidence and advance your career. You can increase your efficiency and get ahead. You can become an expert and make an impact. We now have more than 1,500 students from 31 different countries. It's crazy how we're growing. I call it the Bootcamp for valuation. It's the Valuation Masterclass, and it is the complete, proven, step-by-step course to guide you from novice to valuation expert. So you start your journey to become a valuation master in Module 1, which is focused on building a strong foundation of the basics. And like Alex and I have said in this call, you're going to get access to Finance Made Ridiculously Simple course. Later modules will bring you to mastery. So what do I mean by getting practical experience? Well, by Module 5, you'll have valued 20 companies and reviewed about another 10. That's real practical experience. Also, these companies are from different sectors, countries, and situations. You'll learn how to analyze companies and write reports like a professional analyst because you'll have to do that. You'll gain confidence and advance your career. Why? Well, you're going to gain that confidence from your practical experience in the Valuation Masterclass. And others are going to feel confident when they see the depth of your valuation knowledge. And you're going to increase efficiency and get ahead. The point is, in the Valuation Masterclass, you'll learn to value companies using the value model. It's my model, the highly efficient valuation framework that helped me become a #1 analyst, and you'll get it right away when you sign up. So when you are more efficient, you're also more competitive. Now, become an expert and make an impact. To become a certified valuation expert is hard. We're talking about 5 modules, about 200 hours, and that's why we call it the Bootcamp for valuation. But it can boost your confidence. After passing Module 5, I will do whatever I can to help you get your dream job. Why? Because I know if you've passed Module 5, you now have what it takes. So here's the offer that we have. It applies for you if you're registered as you are and in this webinar, and it's only available today. If you join today, you're going to get 40% off Module 1. It's usually $200. You're going to get it for $120. And you're also going to get this bonus book, 9 Valuation Mistakes and How to Avoid Them, which is a $10 value. And you're going to get this bonus book, which is How to Start Building Your Wealth Investing in the Stock Market, which is also a $10 value. Both books that I wrote and love. So what's the exclusive offer today? The Valuation Masterclass Module 1 at $200. 9 Valuation Mistakes is valued at $10. Build Your Wealth book is valued at $10. And today's offer is valued at $220, and you're going to get it from $120 for $120. And we don't have it written down, but you're also going to get access to Finance Made Ridiculously Simple course. You're going to love it. I put in a lot of time to make this thing great. So the good news is we've got a 30-day guarantee. If you're not satisfied, you just ask. We don't ask any questions. You just say, I want my money back. That's fine. Our mission is to keep and make sure that you're satisfied. So I'm going to go back to stop sharing the screen and go back to the videos and just see if we've got any questions. All right, questions. So I've already completed Valuation Masterclass Module 1. Yeah, can I get free access to Finance Made Ridiculously Simple? Promote? My answer is yes, and Alex will work on that. I'm actually, to tell you the truth, right now, I am finishing the recording of the last sections. Tomorrow, I will finish the final recordings. Now, okay, what about Goldman Sachs? Tanakorn says, how is this different from CFA? Are you talking about a Goldman Sachs course or something like that? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. You mean going to work at Goldman Sachs? I'm not sure about that question. Yeah. All right. Other questions? If Tanakon, if you could clarify that, what do you mean by Goldman Sachs versus CFA? Are there other questions? Make sure you ask them now. Oh, what is, okay, okay. What's the difference between my course and CFA? Now I understand. Sorry about that. So CFA is many different subjects: accounting, finance, economics, quant, and you could map out about 8 different subjects like ethics. But each of those subjects is actually not that deep. For Module 1, basically, it's just not that deep. If you even look at equity valuation, there's not a lot in it for CFA. It's like, what is an index or something like that. But the Valuation Masterclass takes one section of CFA, which is equity valuation, and it goes deep into it. And that's the key. So with Valuation Masterclass, number 1, it's going deep into equity valuation. But number 2, it's practical experience. You will be valuing companies. In the beginning, you've got to go through some of the basic videos and try to understand the core principles of the balance sheet and the income statement. But very quickly, you're going to start valuing companies, and then you have to post them in the group, and you'll get peer reviewed by myself and the senior students. And it's a great group of people that are helping each other. So you're going to make a lot of mistakes in your first, second, third valuation of 3 different companies. But by company number 4, you're going to understand a lot more. And then by company number 20, you're going to be an expert. You will have faced almost every challenge that you would face in real life. Try it out. Take the deal, sign up, try it out. If you don't like it, just ask us for your money back. We're happy with that. We want you to be happy. We know this course is great value and this price is great. So, try it out. All right. Other questions? Any other questions? All right. Good. I think if we don't have any other questions, I'll end it there. We had a good discussion about share buybacks, and all that's coming out of that course, Finance Made Ridiculously Simple. And I love this course. I'm enjoying it very much. It's taken me about 150 hours to create the whole course, but I would say I'm about 5 hours left from completing it, and that's pretty exciting. So thank you all for attending. And also, well, we got a question. What types of careers can this get me enabled to work? So I would say the finance career that you should be thinking about, Tanakon, is to be a financial analyst at a broker or at a fund management company, or to become a fund manager and show that you have knowledge of valuation. If you can make it to module 5 of the Valuation Masterclass, you and I will figure out where you want to work, and then I'll help you, and I'll make calls to those places to try to get appointments so that you can interview with them. So yeah, investment banking, equity research, asset management, all of them. Really, it's about building the skill, right? Okay, Adi Rumi, I just did a recent distribution for the Women in Valuation Scholarship. So I say, hopefully in the next couple of days, you should receive an email. Hopefully in the next couple of days, you'll receive an email. It takes a little bit of time. Yep. Adi Rumi, how long ago did you apply? If it was just recently, then we're okay. If it was a long time ago, then we need to talk about it because maybe something got lost. All right, I'm sitting down because I've been standing all day. Okay, other questions? Any other questions? Tanakon, you're welcome. I think if you got a passion for finance and for valuation, you'll love the Valuation Masterclass. It's not easy though. It's not like you just sit back and watch a bunch of videos. You got to do it. All right. Other questions? Any other questions? Good. Okay. So, if we don't have any other questions, I just want to thank you all for attending, and let's keep learning, keep getting the passion for finance. I got a lot of passion for the subject. It's awesome. So thank you for joining, and I will see you next week.